Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for me to talk to you about My Neighbor Totoro. I was recently watching My Neighbor Totoro again after a very, very long time. It's not one of my favorite Miyazaki movies. It never was. I remember the first time I watched it, I was a teenager and I was really into Miyazaki because of Spirited Away. I was into the hype of that. And I watched Totoro and I wasn't very excited about it. But I think Totoro is actually less of a movie for teenagers and kids and more of a movie for adults because I really appreciated it a lot more when I watched it as an adult. It's just like, I feel like the kids that are portrayed in this movie are portrayed in like such a more nuanced and realistic way than a lot of kids are. I think when people tend to portray kids in movies, what tends to happen is they go on either they are way too dumb, like they're just forces of nature that just like have no logic whatsoever, and they're just like kind of a joke, like, oh, he's gonna do something random and stupid to mess up with the adult's life or something. That's funny. Or they're too smart. They're like adults in kids' bodies. Especially in acting, that also happens. Like a kid can either be really, really bad at acting or too good at acting, too smart to be a kid. I know that there's precocious kids that exist, but if you're too smart to be a kid, I don't know. But I feel like these kids in Totoro, Satsuki and Mei, they feel like real children, and it's hard to make that work. I think that Satsuki, you can see that they have thought processes going in their head. They're not just acting randomly. I know there is a lot of spastic action going on, like the part where Satsuki is spinning around, running around in circles, and then like doing the hello thing. But it all has like kind of a logic to it. Like she's obviously trying to have fun. One of the scenes that I really want to talk about, because I really liked it, and I want to explain why I liked it, was the scene where Satsuki and Mei, they have to go and like find out where the baths are, where the baths, like the room that houses the baths. So they go around the house and they find this door that hasn't been opened yet. So they grab it. It's a sliding door. They grab it and they pull it open. And at first inside it looks like there's complete darkness, but immediately all of that darkness starts moving and you realize that there's like these creatures, these tiny little fuzz balls. They're just all around and they just move and then they like scatter until they're like hiding in the walls and they're all gone. When Satsuki and Mei see this, they're like, eyes are going wide and their hair is up, and then it goes down. And then there's like a few seconds of contemplation before Satsuki just screams. She just screams. Like that's her solution to that problem. That's her solution. That's the idea. Like that is not something that an adult would ever do, but it makes perfect sense that a kid would do that. And I really, really like that. I don't think I've ever seen that in any kind of media ever. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being crazy here, but I haven't seen that. I haven't seen a kid just scream as a solution, not as a reaction, not as like a frustration, but as a solution to a problem, as a solution to that kind of problem. It's just very creative and interesting, and I don't think any adult would have ever thought of doing that because it's kind of dumb, but it's also kind of interesting and smart. I really like it. So I feel like Satsuki is also portrayed as, like, she's not precocious, but she is... in a lot of movies, in media in general, they just portray kids as being stupid, as not even having thoughts. But kids aren't stupid. In general, they actually think of themselves as very smart. So if a kid learns like a complicated word, for instance, they will start using that complicated word. And so it will sound weird for a kid to use a complicated word. Like, people will try to avoid writing something like that, but sometimes it just happens. And it's interesting when that happens. And I think that... there's this moment when Satsuki uses this word. It's not even complicated. I don't remember what it was, but when she was writing to her mom, she was describing something, and she used a word that didn't feel like it was like a kid her age would use, or it felt like she was trying to be smart. And I think that that's something you need to get when you're writing kids, and that's something that a lot of kids I haven't seen in a lot of kids. Final thought on Totoro. I think that Totoro is kind of like, I've been thinking about this for like all of 5 minutes, and I've come to the conclusion that Totoro, the creature, is a representation of the acceptance and imagination that a kid has. You see, when you tell a kid something, at a certain age, they will believe you, no matter whether it sounds true or not, because at a certain age, they just don't have enough experience to know that it's not true. They don't know, like you can tell them that Santa Claus is real, that Santa Claus comes and he brings gifts to you, or you can tell them the Easter Bunny comes and leaves eggs. You can tell them that kind of stuff and they'll believe it because they haven't seen enough of the world to know that what the entirety of the world is, and so that happens. And I think that the moment that you stop believing instantaneously, that's a shift in your perspective and a shift from being a kid into being more of an adult. I think that the reason that kids can see Totoro is because they accept a story, or they accept that Totoro exists immediately. And if you were to not do that, if you were to doubt that Totoro exists, you would not see him. He would disappear. And he would probably disappear from your memory. That's just a theory, but it doesn't matter because I'm just throwing this stuff out there. That's all I have to say about Totoro. Have a good day. Whatever.